Pants on Fire, Phil Barth. Phil Barth, Pants on Fire.
If you heard me practice the speech contest, the one where I've wound up in the top 20, the contest speech, you may have heard me say a couple of things. Or if you're a Facebook friend, you saw this posted. Number one, this will be my last speech contest. The second thing I've said on multiple occasions was the number one priority for me is to win. Not to reach the audience, not to be a lesson, not to win. I'm Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, liar, liar, pants on fire. But we have to ask a question first before we go any further. If you're telling a lie, but at the time you think it's true, is it still a lie? Well, for the sake of this discussion, it better be, or it's going to be a very short speech. At the time, I really meant both of those things. But to find out what happened, we need to go to Chicago, not literally, but I need to take you to Chicago so you can see what happens behind the scenes of a speech contest at the semifinals, and perhaps make judgments about my sanity along the way. We go to the day of the speech contest, Thursday morning. We had already been briefed on Wednesday and met the other contestants, and the contestants are sitting in the front row. I had drawn 10th out of 11 in the contest, which is a fairly comfortable position because you know what most of your opponents are up to at that point. First opponent got up, and I said, yeah, decent speech. Second one got up, okay. Third one got up, and immediately the audience started laughing at everything this gentleman said. And I'm thinking, uh-oh, somebody who's got a better audience reaction than me. This could be a problem. So about the fourth contestant, I'm thinking about the guy who was going third, and I think, I wonder what would happen if I changed my opening. There's a really good time to do this. It's just before your speech that you've been practicing all summer long. I think I could change the opening. And I thought, you know, if you remember the opening, I sat down on the beach. I said, that's okay, but what would happen if I laid down on the beach? Now, you cannot practice that while you're sitting there. It's considered bad to go in the front row and lay down and say, I wonder how that would feel. So I now have to make a decision, and by this time it's approximately it's still the fifth speaker up there. So to practice this, I'm not allowed to go backstage. You're only allowed to go backstage before, on the speech before you. So I would have to leave the room. I'll have to go to the bathroom anyway, so why not? So as the sixth speaker comes up, I leave the room. And just like any speech contest here, if you're out, you're out. You don't come back in the middle. The sixth speaker, by the way, happened to be Ramona Smith, the current world champion of public speaking, who was in my semifinal. I'm up. I have no idea what Ramona's saying. And what I do is I go out there, I think, well, okay, so let's give it a try, right? There are people guarding I'm in a back hall, but there are people guarding the doors, looking at me. So I'm, well, let's see. Okay, so this is my normal sitting position. What if I lay down? And I think, okay, the Toastmasters are roughly here, so I might have to lay on this side. And I think, well, what if I did this? No, that's pretty awful. So I'm basically doing ab crunches in front of somebody who's standing right there. And I finally get it. And so for those of you who saw it on video, I actually opened by saying, I sat down on the beach towel, and then I said, I had recently turned 50. 5 decades, half a century. So it sounds like I'm dying on the stage, which is kind of what I wanted. And then I said, contest chair, and everybody lost it, right? And then I get up and I grunt, which was part of the original joke. Before that, though, I felt good, right? I felt good, and I go back to get mic'd up. So first thing I say is, put the mic on this side. We can't have it over here, the unit. And then, of course, what you have to do backstage, practice. So the people who are backstage are going, one of those. And then here's what happens right before the speech contest, at least if you're me. I am standing back there, and I can look out and see part of the audience. It's in the minute of silence. So I'm thinking to myself, I love you. And then I think, get ready for this. Y'all aren't going to believe what's going to happen on the stage in the next 7 minutes. I'm going to rock the stage. Ready? Let's stood there and I waited. And when he called my name, I was like, I'm going to run out the gate and shake that guy's hand. And I did. And for 7 minutes, I had them in the palm of my hand because I loved them. And I wanted to play. And I wanted to give them a message. And they laughed and they applauded and they loved the speech. And then I came back and they finally announced. And I thought, well, I hope I won something. And honestly, I don't want to sound like I'm arrogant, but I thought, I can't do any worse than second because I heard all but one of the other speakers, and I think I got him. So when they called me second, I said, Pat, I'll tell you who won. The one where I was out in the hall. I was right. Fine, she went. And here's the thing. I wasn't disappointed. How could that possibly be? If my one goal was to win the contest, how could I have not been disappointed? Well, another clue came a little while later. I was walking between halls because there's the convention center and the Marriott and the Hyatt. And I was walking between halls and some gentleman I'd never met stopped me. He said, let me ask you, when you prepare for a speech contest, do you look at the judging form? I said, never, not at all. He goes, don't you think you should have? That might be why you lost. If you look at the strict numbers on the judging form. Well, that's interesting. Maybe I ought to do that. And I thought about it. And I realized, no, I don't want to do that. Because that could change the message. That could change the connection. That could change that moment I had with the audience. And clearly, if that's more important to me than the form, I was lying when I said the most important thing was I wanted to win. The most important thing was I wanted to have that 7 minutes with the audience. A win would have been nice. I wouldn't have rejected the trophy. But the most important thing was the 7-minute connection. Which brings us to the next question. Well, I said I'd never compete again. And I thought, well, that's stupid. Why wouldn't I do that? And we have to consider another lie, one of the great lies that's told many times. What is the number one fear of people? Well, it's public speaking, of course. No. The number one fear of people is making an ass of yourself. It just so happens that public speaking is an awesome way to do that if you do it wrong. All right? What is the number one thing I want? To connect in front of audiences. It just so happens that one of the ways I could do that is in a speech contest. It's not the only way, but it would kind of be dumb to throw that one out. And if I'm going for that connection, then the trophy's not important. So I lied. And giving that up would be dumb, so I lied. And here's the greatest thing about that speech contest. I didn't even set out to do this, but I wound up learning 2 new facts about myself. And the best part is, now I get to see what I'm going to do with it. And I'd like to have a great conclusion and say, here's what it is. But hey, I've learned one other thing. I don't know. So let's stay tuned and find out.